Okay, so this is my seventh day of water fasting, which means that last Sunday I began without began only having water. I did also use electrolytes, and I also used vitamins. The kind of vitamins I use are high quality, which I think is actually really important and very bioavailable. Specifically, I used organ meats through a company called Heart and Soil, because that's what our ancestors used. They used organ meats in their foods, but I don't really know how to cook food with organ meats, and it doesn't sound very appetizing. So I think I'm not in bad company on that one. So why did I do this? I actually did a water fast a few months back for 4 days. I was going to try to go for longer, but I was constantly thinking about food and fantasizing about food. And however, I noticed a few things that I really appreciated. One of them was extreme mental clarity, and my ability to articulate myself really increased. And I just felt more self control. And I believe that my spirit began to have more control over my body. And I think that's the purpose of fasting. Fasting has been done throughout time for religious purposes as well as health purposes. And that's the reason why I did that, why I did it too. So I've now gone 7 days without having any solid food whatsoever. And surprisingly, I've been doing okay. I've been working and adjusting patience. And as long as I'm drinking water, then I'm actually feeling pretty strong. The electrolytes that I've been using in my water is called LMNT, which my office manager Cameron jokingly calls lament. It's actually it's a salt. It's got salt in it, but salt is so important. And by the way, salt gets a bad rap. Our ancestors had salt to taste, and low salt diets have actually been shown to cause harm, and they're not beneficial. I know that I don't want to say that in and of myself. Go look at McCullough's work. He actually has compiled all the research for that, and has all the references for all the experts that talk about that. But at any rate, so the physical reasons why I've done this fast is because it will do several things. It's going to break my cravings, and I do have a sweet tooth, and it's going to sensitize my body to insulin. It's going to decrease those sugar spikes. So my body now for quite some time has been operating on ketones instead of on carbohydrates. And ketones are used from burning fat and protein. And so those ketones are actually something that my brain can use, and it helps to decrease inflammation. But one thing that's interesting to note is that cancer cells can't survive on ketones. So one of the things that happens during this process is that my body, around day 3 or so, is going to go through something called autophagia. And that's where the cells in my body that are diseased or cancerous are broken down, and then the components are recycled. And then my body also begins to emit stem cells. And those stem cells help to regenerate my body. Now, leading up to the fast, there are some steps that you can take to prepare for the fast. You want to eat clean. You don't want to eat a bunch of junk food. You want to be well hydrated and having healthy foods. And then during the fast, I already explained what to do on that. I guess you could choose whether you want to do supplements or not. Some people do only water. I chose not to. I chose to do the supplements. I found that that made a big difference for me. And it also made a big difference for hunger cravings. Actually, as long as I was drinking water and I had my supplements and I had my electrolytes, I really didn't get hungry, which was kind of surprising to me. This go round was much easier than last, and I think maybe my body was prepared for that. So I think that jumping into a 7-day fast for most people, it's probably not advisable, and also I don't have any medical conditions. And so that's something that you would want to be aware of. If you have a medical condition, you might not want to just do this off the bat. You might want to start with a day or two, and then see how your body does. And of course, consult with a healthcare professional. And honestly, I would not consult with a medical doctor. And here's why. They get about 12 hours of nutrition training. Yet when asked, they did a survey nationwide to ask each health practitioner who was most confident in recommending, making dietary recommendations medical doctors were the highest, even though they're the least educated. And I hate to say this, but I think there's some real arrogance that are trained into some of those professionals. Because it's actually not only 12 hours, it's only 1/3 of them get 12 hours. So at any rate, I would talk to not even a clinical nutritionist, because basically they're trained like a medical doctor, just to use medication like nutrition. So I'd go more towards a functional nutritionist or a naturopathic doctor. And I apologize for anyone that I've offended out there, but that's just my opinion. At any rate, after this fast, I'm not going to be having heavy foods. I'm not going to be doing a lot of foods, because my body's digestive system has been shut down for quite some time now. And so now I'm going to be having foods that aren't going to spike my blood sugar. So my break fast right here is actually a cucumber salad with some tomatoes and some cheese. I made some of that cheese, ricotta cheese, from raw milk that I had. So to make that, I put a little bit of lemon juice in some raw milk, and you can either boil it. I chose to let it sit out overnight so that it would curdle, and then I've strained that and I've put that in there. That's going to have nice probiotics in there. That's the reason why I didn't want to boil it, because you can heat it up to 180 degrees to make this happen faster. But I wanted to preserve the natural beneficial microbes in the raw milk. I'm also having a glass of raw milk right here, which, by the way, is just so much more delicious than conventional milk. And there's a whole other discussion I could talk about why I want to have raw milk instead of conventional milk. So this meal isn't going to spike my blood sugar very much, and it's not going to be too heavy or hard on my body. And once I'm finished with this, I'll wait some time, and then I'll start to introduce more heavy foods. And I've decided I'm not going to be doing sweets and sugars. I don't want to have anything that's going to spike my blood sugar, because honestly, I really like the feeling that I have right now of my mental clarity and my ability to articulate. And I did lose a little bit of weight as well. Some people lose more than others. I think I lost maybe 5 or 6 pounds. But I know of other people that have lost sometimes 20 pounds. But I wouldn't do it just for the weight loss. I do it for the health, and also the spirituality. So at any rate, just wanted to share that with you guys. There's some wonderful things. I think the main principle is to remember going back to the way our ancestors ate and lived. Weston Price, if you look at the Weston Price Foundation, they studied ancient cultures, and those ancient cultures didn't have our incidences of heart disease. They had no cancer. They didn't have stroke. They didn't have diabetes. In our country, all these things are skyrocketing. We spend more money on our healthcare in our country than any other country in the world, and yet we have the poorest outcomes in the whole world. So that should tell you something. So when you hear advice from the mainstream conventional medicine in this country, it's probably the absolute wrong advice. I'm sorry to say. And I think, like this whole thing with Charlie Kirk has got me decided to be a little more bold in sharing my views and my opinions publicly. But there's some real horrible things happening in our country, and I'm grateful to see some things beginning to change. The elimination of mandated vaccinations in Florida recently. Wow, that's amazing. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. If you're upset by that, please do some research. I used to be upset by that too. But there's so many kids being harmed by vaccinations. And so at any rate, it's going back to the way our ancestors ate. Weston Price was a dentist in the 1920s, and he noticed that these indigenous people living off of traditional diets had no dental problems, no cavities. All their wisdom teeth were in, perfectly beautiful white straight teeth. All their palates were very broad, no breathing problems. And then he began to study these people from all around the globe and found a consistency among different races and different areas of the world. And then he began to study their diets and record what it was that they were eating. And that is what I'm trying to replicate, is what was it that our ancestors ate. And so I'm trying to live my life more in accordance with that, which is a process, definitely a process. At any rate, God bless you all, and I'm grateful to share my story with you, and I hope this helps. Take care.